Hi everyone, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel, Meghan Grace DIY. If this is your first time stopping by, I have about 26 years of sewing experience. I have taught sewing at the high school level. I currently am a college fashion professor, so I've had quite a bit of experience with different sewing machines and different fabrics and basically just the sewing craft overall. So what I want to do today is give you my top 5 tips that I have learned through all of those years of sewing that will really up your sewing game. Whether you're a beginner or you've been sewing for a little while or you're advanced like me, I just wanted to share these important things that I have kind of picked up along the way that I feel like takes your sewing game from, a C+ to an A+. But before we jump in, I just wanted to do a really quick thank you to everyone who has recently joined my channel. It's really amazing to watch the subscriber count grow. It grows every day, and I'm glad that people are getting a lot of help out of my tutorials. All of the comments saying, thank you, and this was very clear, really do mean the world to me. So thank you everybody. And I also wanted to mention that I'm doing a 1,000 subscriber giveaway of a free sewing machine. So if you would like to be entered in that, you have to be subscribed obviously, and then you have to comment on one video so that way I know your name. Because I tried to do a giveaway with my subscriber list and some people are allowed to set their subscriber list to private, which is totally fine, but it means I can't see everybody. So if you would like to be entered, please go ahead and comment on a video and you'll be entered in that contest. Okay, so let's jump in. Tip number 1, know how to operate your sewing machine. If you are kind of just winging it and just throwing the thread in there and oh, I'll figure it out, don't do that. Make sure you look up a video. YouTube is an amazing thing these days. I'm sure there is a video somewhere on YouTube exactly on the machine that you have and how to operate it. So you need to know how to thread it properly. You need to know how to thread your bobbin properly. If you can't do those 2 things, sewing just is not going to happen. It's gonna come out all jumbly and it's not gonna be like a nice straight stitch and your project just will not look good. So please make sure you do some research, educate yourself a little bit, and know how to operate your sewing machine. Alrighty, tip number 2, press your seams. It's amazing to me, especially when I was teaching high school, how many students would not press their seams. And I would take their projects and be like, you didn't press your seams. And they'd be like, yes, I did. And I'd be like, really? I could tell. I could tell if you pressed your seams. I've been doing this a long time. So if you do not regularly press your seams when you are doing a project, please start. It will really increase, the professionality and the finishing of your projects. You will be amazed. And I'm actually gonna show a short little clip on what it looks like when a seam is pressed versus not pressed. And I distinctly remember, I think I was 13, I was making aprons for a play, and it was the first time that I actually read the directions on the pattern instead of just trying to figure it out. And I pressed where it told me to press, and I was like, oh, this big light bulb went off. And I was like, why have I not been doing this the whole time? So if you do not currently press your seams, please make sure you get to be friends with your iron. It really will help your projects. Here I have 2 different plain seams that I sewed. You can see here. I want to show you the difference between a seam once it's pressed and when it's not pressed. So both of these right now, they're not pressed. You can see it kind of is a little puffy and it just doesn't really lay flat and nice. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna press this one and we're gonna press it open, which means taking the seam allowance, opening it up like that. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna give this a nice press. I have my iron on the cotton setting. I've got my steam on. And then I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna flip this over. And hopefully you're able to see it on the screen, how this just looks a little bumpy, doesn't look quite finished, and this looks really nice and finished. It's flat, and this is really a big thing that'll help your garment look a lot more professional in the end. Alrighty, so tip number 3. I feel like this is one that comes with time. You're gonna sew more, you're gonna learn more, but it is quality over quantity. And what I mean by that is there are some things in sewing that are worth paying more for. One of those big things is fabric. If you are, say making a Halloween costume or you're making something like a garment that you really wanna wear, it's really important that you make a decision on what kind of fabric you want and how much you're willing to spend, because most of the time, the more expensive the fabric, the better the quality. If you are making your Halloween costume and you're at Joann Fabrics and you see that like $2.99 satiny stuff, garbage, please step away. Step away from the polyester, because it is not going to turn out well. It's not gonna sew well, it's gonna bunch up, it's gonna look like crap. And then you're gonna think you're a bad sewer and you're gonna get discouraged. Just that stuff, please, 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 promise me you won't use it. The other big thing when it comes to quantity versus quality is scissors. You should invest in a good pair of scissors. It's really frustrating to try to be cutting a project out when your scissors are dull. So you can either go with a pair of scissors that you can get sharpened regularly, or get a pair of like Fiskars that are $14.99 or something like that. But I know it seems like $15. Oh my God, that's a lot for scissors. But it's gonna save your hands. I have calluses because I cut all the time, but it will be gentler on your hands and it'll just make for a more fun time while you're doing your project. It'll go smoother, it'll go faster. So please make sure you get yourself a nice pair of scissors. But when it comes to sewing and you're gonna buy something, do your research. Some things are overpriced, yes, but a lot of times quality over quantity is a good rule to go by. So my fourth tip is something that I learned when I went to school for fashion, and it is something that I have told probably every single student that I have ever had since then, and that is woven interfacing. Now, again, you're gonna go over to the rack of interfacing. There's gonna be a bajillion different choices, and you're gonna have to do a little bit of research and decide what type of interfacing you need for your specific project. For example, if you're making a tote bag or something that needs like a lot of body to it, you're gonna get a craft interfacing, which is a little stiffer. You're not gonna put that in a garment. It's too thick. So if you are making a garment, I really, really, really recommend you get yourself woven interfacing versus the non-woven kind. So non-woven is when the fibers are just all like smashed together, and then woven is actually woven together like a fabric. So it's going to act like a fabric once it's in your garment, and it's going to look better. Now, that's gonna go back to our quality versus quantity tip, because it is more expensive. Usually woven interfacing, and I like the fusible kind, is around $6.99 a yard. That's what I've been paying for it lately. That's kind of expensive. You're gonna look next to it, there's gonna be 99¢ a yard interfacing. Walk away from the 99¢ interfacing. Again, it's not gonna look good, okay? I'm saving you stress here. So make sure you do a little research, what's the best interfacing for your project. But if you are making clothing, I can't recommend enough to invest in woven interfacing. So tip number 5, again, is something I learned in college. I went to University of Delaware for fashion design. So if any of my professors just happen to be watching this, I just wanna let you know, you did a really, really, really amazing job. And I learned so much, and you really shaped me as a designer. But one of my professors in particular made sure to tell us that the inside of your project should always look as good as the outside. So what that means is learn how to do seam finishes, learn how to, tuck your seam allowances up and maybe do a slip stitch over it where you can, like in a waistband. But the inside of your project, you're like, oh, it's inside, doesn't matter. It does matter. You don't want it all frayed and looking a big mess. You want to make sure that you put just as much care into making the inside look professional as you do into the outside looking professional. Okay, I know I said it was 5, but I want to give you guys a little bonus tip, a little closing out. The biggest thing I can recommend is to learn from your mistakes. Rosie's gonna visit us. I have made so many mistakes over 26 years. I have messed up so many projects. When I was in college, we actually had a picture of a blender on the wall, and I would draw projects in it that came out terrible. And I would say, oh, it's in the blender now because it came out that bad. But I learned through those mistakes. I learned, okay, I sewed this seam wrong. How can I fix that and still make this project look good? So if you make a mistake, please do not get frustrated. Make sure you say to yourself, well, where's the learning here? What could I have done differently? Did I cut it wrong? Maybe I should be more careful with my cutting next time. Did I sew something in the wrong order? Whatever it was, just make sure you take a minute to say, okay, filing this into my head, how can I use this down the road? And also, make sure you have fun. Sewing's supposed to be fun. I have a lot of students that get frustrated, and I always tell them, like, hey, it's making clothes, it's making a bag. It's supposed to be a really, really fun, relaxing project. I find it very stress relieving. I find it amazing that you can just take a flat piece of fabric and make it into a garment in a couple hours. It's one of the things I've just loved my entire life. So if you're going to be sewing, please make sure you're enjoying it. So I hope you enjoyed my 5 tips plus the bonus. And if you did, you can make sure you hit the subscribe button below and you'll get notified for all my other new cool videos. So thanks again for stopping by and best of luck. Happy sewing.